Hi guys, today our topic is multiplying decimals, and I know you already have a lot of schema for multiplying decimals from elementary school, so hopefully this is just going to be a quick refresher for you. But it's still important that we make sure that you do remember how to do this because we will be working with a lot of decimals throughout the rest of the year. So the first thing that you have to keep in mind is that when you multiply decimals, you do not have to worry about lining up a decimal point like you do when you're adding and subtracting. So you can simply rewrite the problem in the traditional way that we multiply. And what you'll do is you'll follow that same process and just ignore this lovely little decimal point that's over there for now. We'll come back to it in a moment. But we're going to multiply it as though it was not there. So I'm going to start right here in the ones place and multiply 3 times 2, which gives me 6. And then 3 times 7, which gives me 21. So then we have finished with that 3 that's in the ones place. Hopefully you remember from elementary, and this is something that kids tend to forget a lot, is that once you're finished with that 3 that's in the ones place and we move to that tens place, because we're working from the tens place, we need a placeholder right here. We need a 0 to sit in the ones place because we're working with the digit that's in the tens place. And then we multiply the same way. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28. And then from here we're going to add everything up. It's super important that you keep your work neat, that you line your numbers up, because sometimes kids make those mistakes just from neatness. 6 plus 0 is 6. 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 8 is 10, so we're going to regroup. 2 plus 1 is 3. Now what I need to do is I need to come back up here and I'm going to count the number of digits that I have behind a decimal point. Well, in 7 2/10, I have 1 digit, so there's only 1 here. 43, that decimal point would come after the 3, so there's none there. Add those together and I have 1. So since in my problem I have 1 digit behind the decimal points, I should have 1 digit behind the decimal points in my answer. So I'm going to write my decimal point right here between the 9 and the 6. And then here is my answer. So let's look at another one. This time I have zeros in the ones place. Well, those zeros in the ones place are going to make my work harder, so I'm going to go ahead and leave them off. There's nothing that comes after the ones place. There's nothing in the tens place on either one of these numbers, so I don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to write this problem as 0.13 or 13 hundredths times 7 hundredths. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to multiply it just like normal, as though those decimal points are not there. 7 times 3 is 21. Put my 1 and regroup my 2. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. Now, I do have a 0 here in my tenths place. So since I'm moving over, I would need a 0 here. 0 times 3 is 3. 0 times 1 is 1. And I'm going to add all of this together. 1, 9, and then 0 plus nothing is 0. Now let's look at how many digits we have behind decimal points in both of the numbers that I multiplied. So here I have 1, 2, so I have 2 in my first factor, and then 1, 2 in my second factor. So together that means I need to have 4 digits behind my decimal point. So we actually are going to start right here, and I'm going to move over. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have this little divot here, so I'm going to add a 0 there. So this means that my final answer would be 0.0091. And let's look at one more problem. Here I have 20 3/10 that I'm going to multiply by 1 16 hundredths. I'm going to multiply just like it was a normal problem. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is plus 1 is 1. Let me make this look more like a 1. And 6 times 2 is 12. Then I'm going to put my 0 placeholder, and I'm going to multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, since I'm moving here to this third digit, that means I need 2 placeholders. And same thing, 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. And now I'm going to add everything up. 8, 0, and 0 is 8. 1, 3, and 0 is 4. 2, 0, and 3 is 5. 1, 2, and 0 is 3. 2 and nothing is 2. Now let's count up. I've got 1 digit in my first factor, 2 digits in my second factor, so I need 3 digits behind the decimal point. So I'm going to start here, 1, 2, 3. So my answer is 23 and 548 thousandths.